Hi, it's Cory, and today for this music theory for ukulele lesson, we're going to be talking about intervals. What is an interval? An interval is the distance between two pitches. We use intervals a lot to build chords, to really explain the relationship in different melodic parts that we're singing, and just in general, when we hear things, we hear a lot of intervals in our daily lives too. An interval can be vertical, like in a chord, so when we have pitches stacked on top of each other. We can also have intervals when they are placed horizontally, if you are picking out an accompaniment. Or we can also look at it in terms of melody, and that's what you're singing. Or playing, of course, too. You can have a melody when it's played on an instrument as well. The way in which we refer to intervals are normally we have a name that's a quality plus a number. There are a few different qualities that we use for intervals. The main ones are perfect, major, minor, and then augmented and diminished. Different intervals get assigned their quality based on mathematical formulas and ratios. So the simpler the ratio is, the more perfect the interval sounds, and the more complex it is, the more imperfect it is. Perfect intervals are always consonant to the ear. That means they sound good typically. Major and minor intervals, they can be consonant, but they can also be dissonant too. Augmented and diminished intervals are almost always considered dissonant, and dissonance is when it doesn't quite sound good to the ear. And again, good and bad, these are very relative terms, and I'm using it to kind of just simplify the process. If an interval has a perfect quality, it means its ratio is really simple and mathematically very simple, and it's very, very consonant. And then if it is augmented and diminished, it's like on the other end of the spectrum and it's more dissonant. There are 12 main different intervals that we talk about in music and that we use to describe the distance between two pitches, or we can describe it in a series of pitches too. But from one pitch to another, we will assign it an interval name based on the distance. So here are the different interval distances, what they look like, and what they sound like, so you can identify them yourself. The smallest interval that we use is called a minor second. It has the quality of minor and the number of second. It is 1/2 step in distance, and we use a lowercase m and a 2 to identify it. A good way to be able to identify a minor second is with a little tune you're probably familiar with. Da-da. Da 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 da. It's the Jaws theme. So if you've ever heard that da 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 da, that little distance is a minor second. A major second is 2/2 steps. We use a capital letter M and a number 2 to identify this particular interval. The way that this interval sounds is the distance between do and re in solfege. It's also the distance between happy birthday. So when we have happy birth, that distance between happy birth is also a major second. A minor third is 3/2 steps, is spelled with a lowercase m and then a 3. A good way to be able to identify a minor third is with Brahms' lullaby. So lullaby, lullaby, da da. That is what a minor third sounds like. A major third is 4/2 steps, and it's spelled with an uppercase M and the number 3. The way a major third sounds like is the distance from do to mi in solfege. Do, mi, do, mi. That's what a major third sounds like. After our major third, we have our first perfect interval, and that is a perfect fourth. A perfect fourth is spelled with a capital letter P and then a 4 after it. We have 5/2 steps with a perfect fourth, and you've probably heard this interval a ton in your life because the most common one that we have is the bridal march. So we have here comes the bride, da da. That's what a perfect fourth sounds like. After a perfect fourth, we have the next interval after that, which is called a tritone. A tritone has 6/2 steps and can also be called a diminished fifth or an augmented fourth, but I find that people typically don't refer to it like that and mostly just call it a tritone. A tritone can be identified with 2 capital letter T's. It sounds like the Simpsons theme, so if you're a big fan, the da 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 da, the da da and then the rest of the pitches. That's what a tritone is. Or if you're a West Side Story fan, you have Maria, Marie, da da. That's what a tritone is. After a tritone, we have the perfect fifth, which is spelled with a capital P and a 5, and it is 7 half steps. And this is probably one of the more noticeable intervals out there, mainly because it is used in the main theme for Star Wars. So da 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 ba da 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 da. That's what a perfect fifth sounds like. After a perfect fifth, we have a minor sixth, and that is with 8 half steps. A minor 6 is spelled out with a lowercase m and a 6. And the more common one, while it's in a lot of other songs, the one that always sticks out to my mind for recognizing this interval is The Entertainer. So da 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 da. That's what a minor 6 sounds like. After a minor 6, we have a major 6th, which is 9 half steps, and it's spelled with a uppercase M and a 6. The tune that we can use to really identify a major 6th is actually the NBC theme song. So NB, NBC, NB is a major 6th. After major 6th, we have a minor 7th, and a minor 7th has 10 half steps, and it's spelled with a lowercase m and a 7. The tune that we use a lot of times to recognize a minor 7 is There's a Place for Us. So that one is There's a Place for Us, but the there's a da da. That's what a minor 7th sounds like. After the minor 7th, we have a major 7th, and it's spelled with an uppercase M and a 7, and it is 11 half steps. And the really common tune we have for this one is Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So we have da da da, ba da da, and then the interval actually happens at da 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 da. Da, 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 da. That's what that major 7th sounds like. Or I often think of major 7th as just in solfege, which is the distance between do and ti. And I always think of it as because in one more half step, you're at a full octave. So when you have da, 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 and that's what that resolution is, going up to the do or going up to the octave. And speaking of an octave, we have the last one, which is a perfect octave or just as an octave. I also see it as like a P8 too. That's our final interval, which is 12 half steps, and then it is spelled as P8. And the easiest way you can recognize a perfect octave is with 2 little melodic tunes. You can either go from do to do, so do it do, or you can think of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow, the da da is the octave. So again, it's really helpful to know all these different intervals and just to have them kind of in the back of your head. As a note though, the little tunes I gave you to help remind yourself of what the intervals are, those are just how we identify the different intervals when we're thinking ascending pitches, and that means from a low pitch to a high pitch. There's a whole nother set of tunes that you can recognize going descending, so high pitch to low pitch. If you'd be at all interested in a separate video about what the tunes that you can think of to remind you of the descending interval pitches, let me know in the comments and I can whip that up for you at the very least give you a resource that you can use, because you probably know a lot of the tunes yourself. In the next video, we're gonna be talking about 7th chords, which is technically a chord quality, but I wanted to get this one for the intervals in first because, as you might guess, 7th chords are when they're involving sevenths. So it's really good to have a firm understanding of what a 7th is, and that's talking about intervals. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, make sure to comment down below and I can get to answering them. Additionally, I do have guided notes and worksheets on my Patreon for my community there that they get to use along with this series. So if you're interested at all in getting those notes and really enhancing your musicianship, make sure to check out my Patreon, and the link is in the description box. But thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!